Now let's talk Jordan Love. I'm finding this to be true, especially with young quarterbacks, but old ones too. I can't separate the quarterback from the coach because there is such a huge gap between the really good coaches, and Jordan Love has one, and Matt Stafford has one, and Lamar has one, and Mahomes has one, and Justin Herbert has one, and Bo Nix has one. I can't separate them. The position's never been more important, and there's a huge gap between the really good coaches and the average ones. And I look at Jordan Love, and I see Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan, and Sean McVay. They're considered offensive wizards. But deep down, they love the power run game. I mean, you ever watch a Rams game? How often Kyren Williams, tiny Notre Damer Kyren Williams, guy carries the ball 25 times a game. He's not Derrick Henry, not built like that. Todd Gurley, if you go look at McVay's history, he wants to run the ball, even with Stafford and with Goff, 2 top 10 quarterbacks. I mean, Shanahan, he has a losing record in San Francisco without Christian McCaffrey. The soul of Kyle Shanahan is the run game. And it's the same with Matt LaFleur. Where did he come from? Where did he build his resume? In Washington behind a Shanahan, a run coach, and in Tennessee with Derrick Henry. So Jordan Love is throwing fewer passes than he's ever thrown. 6 straight games, under 30 attempts. And yet, 5 straight games scoring over 30. When I watch Jordan Love, I see Matt LaFleur. He has reduced his attempts. He's the captain, and Jordan Love is a great vessel. I feel the same way with Herbert. Jim Harbaugh's the captain. Herbert's the vessel. And it's amazing that in both cases, and you're seeing this in Philadelphia too, the quarterback is throwing less, but is winning more, and the team is often scoring more as the quarterback throws less. And we all know quarterback's the most important position in the league. But what I'm finding in this league now, when I watch Green Bay, this is Matt LaFleur's team. This is basically Tennessee with a better quarterback. He had Derrick Henry, now he's got Josh Jacobs, and I'm watching Josh Jacobs like this. When Aaron and Matt were together, it was Aaron's team. There were concessions. You have to have concessions with Aaron. And it's not a cheap shot, just Mike McCarthy found it out. You'll see the door if you don't. But when I watch Green Bay, and this is not a knock at Jordan Love because I think he's a top 10 quarterback in this league or higher, there is a group of quarterbacks in this league, and they have a connection with the coach, and we can put it on the screen. But I can't think of Mahomes without Reed, and I can't think of Stafford without McVay, and Herbert, and Lamar, and Jordan, and Sam Darnold. I can't separate them.
Yeah, this is so funny because I talked about this going into this season, that I said that what's going to make the Packers special is going to be the Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur duo. I said, that's what you are building and banking. And that's why I said that this team is dynasty building, because they have the coach and the quarterback duo, and they have such young talent. And so that if they just get smart, and also signing Jordan Love last season, especially as everything just keeps going higher and higher and higher, will actually make Jordan Love's contract really age even better pretty quickly when you think about it. And you're now putting yourself in a position when you add that along with the young team, if you're just strategic and smart and can bring in the right players at the right price, that's why it's dynasty building. Like that's what's at stake. Again, it's not to say that the Packers have a dynasty or that they will have a dynasty, but that's truly what's at stake. There's some teams that are just built and it's like, hey man, we can win a Super Bowl. Let's do it. Let's go all in. We got this. We can only really hold this together for like a year or two. We got a couple cracks at this. Let's go. I mean, we've seen that a lot. We've seen that a lot. Whether it be with teams like the Eagles, the Rams. I'm trying to think of a couple other teams off the top of my head, but those are the most recent teams. And it's very obvious. Here we see that doesn't have to be the case. That if you can really get this all together, and again, you also need a little bit of luck, whether it be, again, drafts, injuries, who's available in free agency. Can you find the right guy who's willing to accept the right price for the greater good? All of those little things. And it's like you can really build something special for a really long time. For a really long time. And I think also, if you win early enough in someone's career, like a Jordan Love, because as great as he is, if he can win a Super Bowl within the next couple of years, and maybe even another one, I believe that then people start to talk about Jordan Love in the conversation of, can he be the GOAT? Will he be the GOAT? And again, I'm not saying that that's definitely going to be the case, especially in isolation. I'm just saying when you're a young quarterback with his skill set and you win a Super Bowl or two this early on, those are the conversations that you start having. Then it makes it a lot easier for Jordan Love to want to be able to pursue more team-friendly deals, because he's now thinking, I want to win Super Bowls, man. I already got 2. I'm just like, X behind whoever. Let's go. And it becomes easier then for him to want to pursue that, because then he's like, I'm trying to pursue greatness right now. I'm trying to be one of the best to ever do it. Let's go. Now, when you don't win those Super Bowls early on, then you're kind of just like, well, give me my money, man. Like, yeah, I want to win Super Bowls too, and I want to be great, and I want to be in the Hall of Fame and all this, but like, I've been here doing this for the last 4, 5, 6 years. Like, I get it, but like, give me my money. And that's when you find yourself in the Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is all about getting as much as money as he possibly can. You know what, though? Based off of who I think Dak is, I actually think if he was at the Dallas Cowboys and he won a couple Super Bowls very early on in his career, like in 2017 or 18, I think that's when he entered the league, or 2016, I'm pretty confident actually that there's really strong possibility that he would have maybe taken more team-friendly deals. Because people would have been talking about him. Oh my God, he's a 2-time Super Bowl winner with the Dallas Cowboys. This is amazing. He's only 26 years old, 27 years old, whatever it is. Like what can the future bring? And it's just like that gets in people's heads, and they're like, wow, okay. And I think it's a real effect that we see with these teams if they win early enough. If they don't, then the quarterbacks are like, I want my money. Give me my money. And so I think it's going to be such an interesting path to see how the Packers and Jordan Love and company, which path do they choose and how do they walk it? Because I just see so much special, and it's such a great luxury. Because when you look at this too, Matt LaFleur has already made his mistakes, and he's still going to make mistakes. All coaches do. Everyone does. But he's already really cut his teeth, had a lot of experience and a lot of growth experience being a head coach with Aaron Rodgers. And so he absolutely made mistakes, and probably if you really got a real honest conversation with him and said, hey, how do you think things went early on in your career, especially with Aaron Rodgers? Is there any things that you would do differently? And I guarantee you he's probably got a whole list of things that he's like, I wish I did this. I wish I did that. I bet you there's still things that haunt him. Truly. That he's probably like, okay, man, Matt, it's time to let it go. We're on to new things. I can let it go now. And that's what you saw Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid made his mistakes with the Philadelphia Eagles, with Donovan McNabb, Vic, whoever. Okay? Sean McVay made his mistakes. He learned and grew with Jared Goff. Jim Harbaugh, same thing with the 49ers. Less so John Harbaugh. I'm not putting John Harbaugh up there. First off, I don't even understand. This is offensive head coach and QB combos. What? John Harbaugh's not an offensive. I don't even understand that. And Kevin O'Connell, also learned and grown. I'm not going to say that he necessarily made so many strong mistakes with Kirk Cousins, because there's only so much for him to do in those situations. He had a tall task with Minnesota when he kind of took over. There was a lot more moving parts than I think people give credit to. But I mean, I think he's continuing to learn and grow and evolve. And that's what's so great. You're getting a more refined Matt LaFleur. You're going to get a more confident, more grounded Matt LaFleur. When you first become a head coach, like again, it's very similar to being a player. You're trying to prove that you belong. You really are in this kind of fake it till you make it mentality as well. You feel very much like an imposter. You feel like a kid playing dress up. It's a real thing. You feel like you're playing dress up. You like wear the shirt and the headset, and you like look in the mirror and you're like, I feel like this is Halloween right now. I promise you he probably still feels that to a degree, because again, like everyone does. Again, even Andy Reid, I'm sure, to a degree. But like it's just going to be less and less and less and less and less as time goes on. It really does become your identity. You really are like, this is who I am. And it really does become part of your identity. And that knowledge, that wisdom, that experience is just going to pay tenfold with Jordan Love. Andy Reid would not be able to be as great of a coach to Patrick Mahomes if he didn't coach Donovan McNabb for all those years, Brett Favre, Vic. He just wouldn't. You need the experience, you need the time, you need the mistakes, you need the self-reflection. So that's why I absolutely love this duo of LaFleur and Jordan Love. And I think they feed off each other so much because I think there's a tremendous amount of mutual respect, but also a healthy collaboration, a healthy dose of also letting each person, both the coach and the player, be themselves, be who they are, do what they need to do. And I think it's great. And I think Jordan Love is also still continuing to mature and grow into that because he's still at the aspect of like saying like, I need to trust Matt. When Matt says I need to do this, I need to trust him. And I think it just goes a really, really long way. And I think that's what we're seeing with this team. That's why they've been able to have the amount of success that they've been able to have these last couple of years. That's why they've been able to weather very specific storms throughout these last 2 years. And that's not easy to do when you have a young team and a young quarterback. It's not. It's a lot easier to weather storms when you do have a seasoned veteran head coach and a seasoned veteran quarterback who's already got a couple Super Bowls to their name. It's easier to weather injuries and weather controversy, weather, a handful of bad games in a row. You got that rock, you got that iron right there. That's not what the Packers have had the last couple of years, yet they've been able to get off to some weird starts, to some injured starts. That's why they were able to march into Dallas and just rock the Cowboys. That will forever be one of the best games I've ever seen. Because it was just like, I was ready for a game. I was not ready for that. And it was one of those things where I watched, I remember very specifically, I was like riding a bike, like working out, like a stationary bike, because I was like, all right, let's watch this game. And I was like not really expecting much. And I was just like, the whole time I was like, oh my God, like what is happening? Like, this is insane. This is just, my God, this is wild. And like, that is what the potential is. That's not an outlier. That was always just a preview of what the true potential of what Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur and the team as a whole can be together. And I'm not going to act like beating the Saints 34-0 is like the biggest thing ever, because the Saints are not a good team. They're a bad team. We know that. But when they play bad teams like this, I look for specific things. I try to find takeaways that actually seem more relevant to me. And so 6 for 13, because sometimes you can blow out a team and play a bad team, but like it was still weird. Like, oh, they were 2 for 10 on third down, or whatever it is. Like, still kind of like weird stuff. And they didn't have that. They were 6 for 13 on third down, 3 for 3 on fourth down, 4 for 4 in the red zone. They only had 6 penalties, slightly higher than I would like against a team that you're beating 34-0. But that's really just kind of being a tough customer. 0 turnovers, absolutely love that. I hate when you play bad teams. You're rolling them, you're beating them, but you still throw an interception, you still fumble, and it's like, come on. If you can't play a clean game against a bad team, how are you expecting to play a clean game against a great team come playoff time? And yet, here we are. So, love to see that. And they rushed the ball 39 times, 188 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. So, again, just a very clean, simple game. I remember hearing that the Saints, they were practicing in a freezer or something, or the quarterbacks were going through plays in the freezer, and I was like, oh my God, this game's over. If that's what you're doing to prepare, you're already psyching yourself out. Maybe that works if you have a couple older veterans involved again, but if you're telling some young guy, this is so cold, it's like being in a freezer, they're not going to be comfortable. If anything, they should have done the opposite. Now we don't got to do that stuff. It's cold. Get over it. Let's go. But the fact that they were doing all that stuff, I didn't know if it was going to be 34-0, but I didn't have a strong sense. But listen, I think the Commanders are a pretty good team. Not as good as the Packers, but I think they're a pretty good team. And they just eked out a win against the Saints. So even when you play an inferior opponent, it's no guarantee that you're going to convincingly win, that you're going to dominate. Nor do I think you need to dominate, to prove how great you are. I'm not the type of person that thinks that all the great teams roll all the bad teams. That's not my school of thought. But I also don't think that it's good to consistently just win by one score or 3 points or a field goal against the bad teams either. Again, everything's always within reason, within balance. And so that's why I think that this was overall just a great game. Not a game that we had to be like, they rolled the Saints 34-0. That's how good they are. Like, that's too extreme of a reaction as well. But they just played very, very high quality football. They were obviously prepared. They understood what needed to be done, even against a team like the Saints this late in the season, which, again, we've seen plenty of teams not be able to step up and rise to the occasion. The Buffalo Bills versus the Patriots, another perfect example. Like, you know, if you're a Josh Allen and a Buffalo Bills fan, you were expecting the Bills to be able to do what the Packers did against the Saints. It's that simple. So the fact that the Packers were able to kind of take care of business and do what needed to be done, I think still bodes incredibly well for them. And yeah, man, I really do think the sky's the limit for the Green Bay Packers. The biggest problem that they face is just that their division is a gauntlet. That's like the one thing that we see all these all-time great teams constantly be able to take advantage of. Just an absolute inferior division where they can just rack up win after win after win after win, get like such a head start on a first round bye, home field advantage, etc., etc. And unfortunately for the Packers, they don't have that. Fortunately for football fans, they don't have that as well, because then it's fun. It's box office. It's entertainment. For years, watching the Chiefs play the Raiders or the Broncos or the Chargers was like, who cares? What does that matter? Watching Tom Brady play the Bills and the Jets was like, great, who cares? And the Dolphins, it's like, who the heck are their quarterbacks? Who are their coaches? Like, who cares? Right? So again, from a football fan perspective, it's awesome. But from like a straight individual Packers fan, it's slightly a bummer, because if you were in a weaker division, it's like you would already have this division locked up. I mean, if you were playing in majority of the other divisions, you'd have this locked up, and you would have an extra head start for trying to lock down the 1 seed. But that's honestly the biggest obstacle for the Packers is that. And if that's your biggest obstacle, then it's not too terrible. Not too terrible. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers? What do you think makes Jordan Love and LaFleur such a great duo? And do you think they are indeed a top duo in the NFL? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.